Hi, I'm Chief Eric Payne of the Grand Rapids Police Department. We have received a number of questions about the Stay Home, Stay Safe executive order Governor Whitmer signed. I, along with City Attorney Anita Hitchcock, will answer some of those questions and provide information to the community on how best to call in complaints and give information on how this executive order will be enforced locally and the measures we're taking to help keep the community safe.
Thank you, Chief. Again, as the Chief said, we're here to address some of the concerns that we've been hearing related to the Stay Home, Stay Safe executive order issued by the governor. And part of what we want to do today is answer the questions that have come up about enforcement and how we're going to enforce those that perhaps are in violation of that order. And so one of the things that we have to keep in mind that it's all about safety, and safety is, I think, upon all of us to think about, not just the police department. And the more that people abide by those orders, then there'll be less contact, not just with each other and keeping each other safe, but with the Grand Rapids Police Department, upon which we want to keep our officers safe too. We want to keep them focused on emergency measures, and we want to keep them safe because they too go home to their families. And so some of the concerns that we've been hearing that came up is, what do I do if there's a business that I believe that they're not an essential service or a service that's lends to the protection or sustaining life as the governor has required, that we cease all activities that do not contribute to the sustaining or protection of life. So if there's a business that you believe that is operating in violation of the executive office, it's important that you first, it would help if you were to read the executive order, if you were to read the frequently asked questions that are on the state web page, so that you have a clear understanding of perhaps what those businesses are, and that would lessen unnecessary contact, which is what we're trying to all accomplish in keeping us safe. So if once you've done that, you believe that the business is in violation of the governor's office, please call 311. It's important that you call 311 and not 911, because we want to keep that line open for emergencies. The other concern that we've been hearing is, what's the city going to do if a business is in violation? So it's not our goal to go out and unnecessarily shut down businesses, but we want to take the opportunity initially to educate those businesses, make sure that they understand the governor's executive order and that they're voluntarily in compliance. We like to do that before enforcement. Based on the guidance from the Attorney General's office, if staff encounters clear violations of the executive orders, the Grand Rapids Police Department may take enforcement actions. A willful violation of the stay-at-home executive order can result in a misdemeanor which comes with fines up to $500 and a penalty of up to 90 days in jail. What do I do? Another thing that we've heard is, what does one do to report if there's an individual that is in violation of the order and perhaps not practicing social distancing? And so with that, we're asking that you please use your discretion in calling in these complaints. Limit those calls to egregious activities that pose substantial health risks to a large number of people. So if we have two people walking down the street holding hands, consider that as not egregious. Use your discretion. So we're looking for those activities that are going to be a substantial risk to a large number of people. So what do you do in the event of that there's an individual in violation? We're asking that you call the Grand Rapids Police Department non-emergency line.
Ms. Hitchcock mentioned, our 911 is truly for emergency, and you will get a response as you have in the past if you call 911. But for these type of calls, the non-emergency number, again, 616-456-3400 is a non-emergency number. A separate question has come up about whether or not you need documentation to establish whether your travel is essential or not. You do not need any further documentation to prove that or why you're out and about. We are not asking for that, and that is not a part of the executive order for any citizen or community member to have documentation.
So lastly, and I'll turn it over to the chief, this is important. Will the police department stop vehicles or set up checkpoints to make sure travelers are only engaged in essential travel? No, they will not. Again, no, the Grand Rapids Police Department will not be stopping vehicles or setting up checkpoints to make sure travelers are only engaged in essential travel. They do not have legal authority to do this, to just investigate vehicles on whether or not the occupants are complying with the executive order. Again, they will not be doing this. So, Chief, this is a point where I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. And you bring up a good point, and that is one of the frequently asked questions that we're getting from the community. Will we stop people and just detain them for a violation of the executive order? Absolutely not. Now, during the course of a contact, it may come up where an officer may ask somebody where they're going or what they're doing. But it's not the intent of enforcing the executive order. It's purely investigation. But I really want to make sure the community knows that it's not a priority for us to go out looking for this executive order. And I want to compliment the community. I believe they're abiding by the executive order. We've had few calls for people being in violation. So I want to thank the community. I also want to thank the public. As you mentioned, we want to keep officers. And I talked to Chief Lehman. I want to also mention the fire department. They're out there on the front lines along with our officers. Everything in these executive orders is trying to mitigate the amount of spread of the COVID-19 virus. So I want to thank the community, all the public safety officers, and all the city workers that are coming to work. We're doing this together. We will get through this together, and there are a lot of challenges, but we're here to make sure we face those and continue with the quality of life in the city of Grand Rapids. Public safety is our number one priority, and by working together, we can accomplish that goal.
So we'll just wrap up when saying that voluntary compliance with the governor's office by staying home and practicing social distances are the best ways to protect yourself. It's important that in this new reality that we live differently, that we communicate with each other differently, but it's also important that we all, as individuals, in looking out for each other and safety, which is our highest priority, that we abide by the order and that we practice social distancing.